MT-25, oh my. So I was pretty excited about new Russian light tanks. I immediately bought MT-25 and I started the grind. I actually used free XP to get this automatic gun, and it was a huge mistake. I played over 25 games with this gun and my win rate was like 42%. That was just awful. So what's wrong with this gun? So I have 10 shells in a clip, and each shell does a very insignificant amount of damage. So if you want to have any noticeable impact, you have to connect most of the shells. And the problem is that as soon as you start firing, your target inevitably starts moving, and you would miss half of your shots, or maybe 1/3, but still, the effective DPM is rather low. Another problem is that the penetration of those shells is rather awful. Basically, you can't penetrate even side armor of heavy tanks, and you often bounce from even lightly armored tanks. This also means that you can't snipe with this gun because shells lose penetration over distance, and if you would shoot across half of the map, you just won't be able to penetrate your target. So you have to find isolated tanks like this Comet and empty hull clip at close range to make any significant amount of damage, but again, these opportunities are not present in every game. You have to stay close to your targets, which makes you vulnerable. You struggle to penetrate them, and most of the games I can't cross 1000 damage mark, and this gun just doesn't work for me. So I decided to have a look at other guns, and I started with a 76mm gun. It seems to be much worse compared to automatic gun. It has less firepower and it's just all red. So I decided to use 57mm gun. Technically it has less firepower, but given that you would be able to connect more shells because it's not automatic, your effective firepower should be even better. And what's most important is that it has significantly better penetration, especially with APCR rounds. And I was disappointed again. Basically, this gun has the same flaws as automatic gun. It's fast firing, low alpha gun, and in order to realize your DPM you have to stay exposed for a long time, which means that you would take damage, and you can't do this in light tank. You also can't reliably snipe with this gun because it has rather low caliber steel. It's only 57mm, and again, you won't be able to penetrate your targets reliably. But what's most importantly is that once they detect that they are hit, they would start moving, so they will just move away from their positions before you would be able to do any significant amount of damage. So probably if you have excellent dexterity, you would be able to fly around your targets, but I don't have it, and it just doesn't work for me. I can't survive using this gun. It's very limited for me. So I decided to revisit 76mm gun. On paper it's worse than 57mm gun, but let's have a closer look at its characteristics. Basically it has better penetration with armor and worse penetration with APCR rounds. But again, that's on paper. In practice it has larger caliber, and this means that your actual penetration is much better. So in practice I would tell you that I can reliably penetrate heavy armor, and this gives me a very big advantage. I can snipe with this gun. At the start of the game I could go to the hill, I could stay behind the bush use binoculars to spot the enemy and do the damage at the distance, I don't have to overexpose myself for a significant amount of time. Well, I don't have to overexpose myself at all. And this allows me to finish most of my games doing 1400 damage, and this is compared to 700 damage with automatic gun or 57mm gun. Basically, I'm doing twice as much damage per game, and the improvement in win rate was significant. I just noticed that I'm much more successful with this gun because it gives me much more options. Again, at the start of the game I could snipe, and at the end of the game I could go to the town and I could do the cleanup work more reliably with this higher alpha. So basically I go around the building, put that 160 damage into the heavy tank, possibly killing him with a single shot, and after that I could duck for cover and avoid taking any damage in return. So basically, on paper this is the worst option, but in practice this gun is much more convenient and universal, and for me it works much better. Now let's have a look at 76mm gun performance. At the start of the game I'm hiding behind the bush, I'm taking that shot and I immediately retreat. I'm spotted, but I'm waiting behind the rock to reset the camera, and while I'm reloading I'm not taking hits, which is a good thing. So after I'm reloaded I'm going back to that bush and I'm again trying to spot who's there. I have binoculars and I have camo net, so I have pretty good camo rating, and I could use this opportunity to spot the team. Look at what I'm doing. I'm waiting to reset my camera. I'm going into position. I'm taking that shot and I'm hiding back. So this works rather well for me because I don't have to take any damage. I don't have to overexpose, and I mean, look at what would be happening if I would be using autocannon or 57mm gun. I have to stay behind that bush, and the moment I would start firing, I would be spotted, and they would start firing back at me. There are some pretty heavy guns on the other side, like that SU, and Panther is a very worthy opponent. They could rather quickly kill me. So that 76mm gun allows you to hide while you are reloading and essentially disengage with the enemy, and it's just much better option for me. Another controversy with this tank is which suspension to use. You may have noticed that I'm using standard MT-25 suspension because it has 4 additional degrees of traverse speed. And again, on paper it seems to be the better choice. But I'm thinking to switch to reinforced suspension, and the reason is the game client doesn't show you all the characteristics of modules, and I believe that reinforced suspension trades traverse speed for better durability. And if you are going to snipe with this tank, those 4 extra degrees are not that important. It's much more important to have more durable suspension, because often you have to get away from the hill quickly, which means that you would be sliding down the hill, which means that you often could break your suspension and be stuck down there. You have to use a repair kit, but why would you want to do this when you could just install reinforced suspension and it won't break? So I don't know. If you are going to enjoy close combat in this tank and use autocannon or 57mm gun, because it may perform better in close combat. Probably you would need those for extra degrees of traverse speed, but at this point I think that I'm switching to reinforced suspension, because for sniper tank it's just a better option. So again, what you will see now is my final setup for this tank. I'm going to use 76mm gun. I'm going to snipe with this tank. I'm going to use reinforced suspension. And as for equipment, I went with binoculars, camo net, and enhanced gun laying drive, which is pretty well set up for sniping. So thanks for watching and good luck on the battlefield.